We good.
Welcome to Clinical Conversations at High Noon with the Green Nurses at Holistic Caring Network, where we bring hope and inspiration for growth and healing. And we're here to change the dialogue and stigma around what it means to feel good or be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. Want to say a big thank you to Cannabis Radio Network for having us back on your platform, bringing real-world evidence and education on cannabis as medicine, as we are seeing more and more compelling stories of healing. We're really grateful to have the opportunity to share our expertise in the field of cannabis as medicine, as we've been educating professionals and working with patients across the globe. So here is a little what we do in the cannabis space as nurses.
Change the paradigm of healthcare.
The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I'm the founder of Holistic Caring. We're based here in California, and we do educational programs and case management for patients on how to use cannabis therapeutically as a medicine.
We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high, hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing.
As the founder of Holistic Caring, I basically oversee the whole ship. And what we're doing is progressive education.
Cannabis actually supports all 11 organ systems, our immune system, and all the neurotransmitter signaling systems that give messages to tell our body to either do something or not do something. Because the plant was prohibited, it prevented health professionals, doctors and nurses from learning about cannabis as medicine.
I want to change the paradigm of healthcare and us paving the way into a new vanguard of medicine. And I'm excited to really bring this into light. There's a company called Canum that we're merging with, and we will now be doing global education.
It's about education, it's about empowerment, it's about teaching people how to feel good, bridging the gap from what they're not getting from traditional medicine, utilizing different plant medicines, adaptogens, tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs of information to support and nourish the most important system in our body.
And it's a lot of soul work, a lot of love, a lot of discipline, and meditation. I'm using my life work as a testimony to others to learn how they can be their own hero and then go help heal the world.
And we are, as nurses, the game changers. All right, here we are. Welcome, everyone. My name is Sherry Tuckus, and I'm the Vice President of Nursing at Holistic Caring in the Green Nurse. And I am a cannabis nurse, a cannabis patient, advocate, activist, and podcaster here to change the paradigm of healthcare with a team of amazing nurses and health professionals around the globe. So people are making great medicines.
People are selling great medicines.
Yet no
one's educating them on how to use them as medicine. And that's what we do.
It's exactly what we do. So here I'd like to introduce my business partner and co-host for our monthly clinical conversation, Elizabeth Mack. She is the CEO and founder of Holistic Caring Network, where the Green Nurses operate out of. She is also the Director of Clinical Affairs at Canum in Australia, and we are really excited to be helping them to build global clinics to help more people around the world. So welcome, Elizabeth.
Thank you. Thank you. It's always good to be here with you and our monthly clinical conversations, and happy Thanksgiving week to you all.
And it's so good to see you. And one of the things that you talk about often are the 4 Ds and the 4 Ps that you've identified here in the space as cannabis. What do you see?
Well, okay, my 4 Ds are disconnect, distrust, disorganization and dosing, right? These are the mechanisms that are not functioning all that well in the cannabis healthcare arena, right? We're not really connecting the dots between clinicians, the shop and the products and the medicines and the patients. And then what we do here at Holistic Caring the Green Nurse is add the 4 Ps: process and professionalism and products, making sure that they're vetted, and then programs for the patients to bring it all together and make sure that they're guided and supported in using these medicines. Because like you said in the intro, healthcare professionals are not learning this. So we have to step up and be those game changers for these people that need access to this, which all of us do.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So this month Elizabeth did a newsletter, and it was about keeping a healthy brain and how cannabis may help reduce neuroinflammation, which may help prevent neurodegenerative disorders such as Alzheimer's, dementia. So, the bottom line is we don't die of diseases. We die of old age related diseases that are caused by inflammation. So I'm just going to pull up our little slideshow here. We're going to get started.
Okay. Inflammation is the root of all dysfunctions.
Yeah.
But it also can be very helpful. So
It can.
It obviously has a purpose in the body.
Yeah.
Right.
But the other thing too, Elizabeth, as we've been doing this research and evolving in the space is, we've learned that we've been misinformed with the information that is normal for the aging brain to be confused and that memory loss can't be prevented. That is a myth, right? That is complete myth. Cognitive decline, memory, loss of functioning isn't normal as we age because PET scans reveal biomarkers that reveal 20 to 30 years prior to symptoms. So let's just talk a little bit about what a biomarker is.
What that might mean.
Yeah, what that might mean.
Right. So biomarkers are indicators, right? They're like little gauges that we can look at in the body, and we can look at radiographic, histological, so on slides and radiographic imaging and physiological. What are the symptoms and behavioral manifestations, etc. So with Alzheimer's disease, they're looking at the biomarkers of the retinal scans, and they can detect the beta amyloid plaque deposits, not necessarily the ones in the brain, but things that are changing in the eyes. So if you're getting an eye exam, you might see that you have some changes there. And so if people can pick up on those, you can make some preventative changes, which we'll talk about as we go. But biomarkers are these things that are indicators that pop up that tell us, where we're at on things. And so if we can pick up on these tau plaques, we can do things to help them. And the Alzheimer's Disease Society has amazing presentations on their website where they talk about the brain and all the different interactive maps where you can click on and see where functioning is and how it's supposed to be in normal and how progressive changes are showing the erosion of brain function.
Absolutely. And I put that link in the comments for you all. So just as a bottom line, so an example of an Alzheimer's disease biomarker, retinal scans looking into people's eyes can now detect amyloid deposits, which are the plaques that grow erratically as one of the hallmark signs of Alzheimer's disease. So let's just get into a little bit of what it is.
Yeah.
What is Alzheimer's dementia? Well, it is a neurological disease of the nervous system. It's a chronic degenerative disease of the brain, and it's irreversible brain disease that affects memory, thinking, and our ability to complete tasks. 5 million people in the United States have Alzheimer's disease, 55 million globally. And so it's the most common cause of dementia and accounts for 60 to 80% of all dementia cases. So causes of Alzheimer's dementia: genetics, environmental, and lifestyle. And we're going to be talking about that, such as what contributing factors: lack of exercise, obesity, hypertension, diabetes, depression, smoking, head injuries. And so what they've seen is these beta amyloid plaques and tau tangles that destroy the neurons in our brains, these that allow our brain cells to communicate. And so, currently there is no cure, but it's what? Pills and palliative care.
Pills and procedures, but here is pills and palliative care. And Alzheimer's comes in stages, just like autism. It has a spectrum. Alzheimer's has a progression as well. And so we start out with mild symptoms, repeating questions, wandering, not sure what's going on, maybe some personality changes, irritability, insomnia. As it starts to progress, people become more and more confused. They have trouble recognizing family and other people. Families later, but other people, it's like, who are you again? Inability to learn. That's a big thing. You can't learn new tasks. The brain is not capable of picking up new information and doing things with it. Delusions, paranoia, hallucinations, impulsiveness, lack of coping skills, and then back to sundowning. This is a term, sundowning, what happens in the afternoons, 2, 3, 4 o'clock. As the sun starts to go down, people's anxiety and agitation goes up. And that's why, medications are usually given at that point. And we'll circle back to that too. And then, of course, in severe stages, where people are really, their body's just shutting down. They have weight loss, anorexia, they're not eating, they're not communicating, loss of bowel and bladder. And then eventually they just go to sleep. And, so it's a progressive illness that doesn't have any answers other than mitigation of symptoms. And you can see in this beautiful infographic that we've made here, it's just a nightmare for the patient and the family. And the family.
Truly it is. And so we're going to show you a little bit about what a brain looks like. And here's the thing. This can be prevented if we take care of our endocannabinoid system. And we're going to get into that in a second. But look at the brain here. We've got a healthy brain on the left and an Alzheimer's brain on the right. And so basically, this is important. The cerebral cortex becomes smaller, right? And so the loss of neurons, these cells in our brain, destroys connections that help the cells communicate with each other, right? Neuroplasticity is the ability of our brain to communicate. And then the hippocampus, right? This is part of our memory, becomes smaller as well, which is related to the cognitive decline that we see. Memory is affected, including the processes of creating new memories, right? So that's why they have that short-term memory loss, because they can't hang on to them. And then we have areas in our brain that are called ventricles, and they are, they're enlarged in the body with Alzheimer's disease. They can lead to hydrocephalus. And so these ventricles of the brain, they're a communicating network device of cavities that's filled with cerebral spinal fluid. And so, enlarged ventricles, too much fluid, you can get hydrocephalus, which leads to brain damage and further decline. So here we go. We're going to get into the meat and potatoes. Alzheimer's and cannabis. Can cannabis help? Can cannabis help?
So yes, of course it can. And this is me and my beloved mother in this picture here. But cannabis, yes, it helps us bridge the gap from what pharmaceuticals are not providing. They do their job. Obviously, most 80-year-olds are on them. But we can use less dosage sometimes with cannabinoids, and that can decrease side effects and toxicity from those other pharmaceuticals. So we can also use cannabinoids to decrease symptoms and improve quality of life on a daily basis, one by one, as we're trying to work with them. And on a general basis, cannabinoids can slow down neurodegeneration, the progression of cell death in the brain, because they are neuroprotectants, protecting the brain and the cell signaling, the integrity of that. They're antioxidants, and antioxidants scrub the body and brain from free radicals and limit the oxidative stress. And they're anti-inflammatory, which is decreasing the inflammation. When the brain is injured, like with Alzheimer's and other kinds of dementias, it is inflamed, trying to treat that. And it's dance with inflammation that we want to do. But we want to slow down some of the neuroinflammation to decrease depression, decrease some of the anxiety and irritability. And then neurogenesis, helping to make new nerve cells. We can always do that. There was a myth that you don't make a certain amount of new nerve cells in the brain, and you do. You're constantly regenerating them. And then, as far as Alzheimer's, there is some preclinical research at the Salk Institute in California showing that THC may be able to erode these beta amyloid plaques, slowing down that progression of Alzheimer's. So. Yeah. And with my mother, we did a progression of tinctures. Sometimes I got her capsules, topicals. But my mother also had a lot of pain and osteoarthritis in her back, so we would use topicals on that. And I'd use a 4-to-1 CBD to THC oil during the day with her, and then a 1-to-1 at bedtime to try and facilitate sleep. She had a lifetime of insomnia, and that's what we did. But I also was slowing down the memory loss. I know that over the years, it could have accelerated faster, but using the cannabinoids mainly for her back, I knew I was really slowing down some of the dementia. And mom did not have Alzheimer's. She had vascular dementia, really brought on by metabolic syndrome, which we'll come to, diabetes. So she had for many, many years.
So you can see how everything is interconnected. And that's why we're going to talk about the endocannabinoid system. This is probably my favorite slide because hopefully it helps people to understand it. So when you were teaching, nurses and professionals and doctors and even patients, it's a very abstract concept. So I like to use the umbrella concept. And when I'm on stage, I bring my handy dandy umbrella. And I want you to imagine that you are that umbrella. All of the spokes of the umbrella are your different organ systems. You have your central nervous system, peripheral, endocrine, circulatory, respiratory, integumentary, which is skin, reproductive, lymphatic, digestive, urinary, skeletal, muscular. So we have all of these different systems that make up our entire body and our immune system. The little fabric pieces, the different color pieces of fabric, are those neurotransmitter signaling systems that connect to all of our different organ systems, right? And those neurotransmitter signaling systems give messages to the different areas of our body to tell our body to either do this, do that, stop doing this, stop doing that. So just imagine the endocannabinoid system blankets on top of our entire umbrella because we have cannabinoid receptors on all of the cell surfaces of all of our organ systems. And we have these cannabinoid receptors at the neurotransmitter signaling junction sites. So we have an endocannabinoid system, not because of the cannabis plant, but because we make molecules in our body, like the plant, upon demand. So just imagine the endocannabinoid system is a switchboard. It's like an on-off switch with a feedback loop that's there to correct cell messaging. So you think of different areas of your body, the different areas, different spokes of the umbrella. There's something going on at all times, right? Do this, do that. So the endocannabinoid system's going like that, right? And so what it does is in response to stress or changes in the body, it releases the endocannabinoids, the anandamide and the 2-AG that we make. And its goal is to correct the body by turning up or down the signaling, agonist, antagonist. Do this, stop doing that. And we have an endocannabinoid system, like I said, not because of the cannabis plant, but because we make compounds in our body very similar to the plant. And so I'm going to show you this next slide, which was a huge shoe drop for me when I learned this.
Yeah.
Oh,
Wow.
look at this.
Okay. Well, so here's why cannabis works. Let's talk about the endocannabinoid system and the discovery of it. Some 60 years ago, Raphael Mechoulam, working in Israel, funded by the NIH, by the way, discovered and isolated synthesized THC and CBD and broke down the molecular structure. Then we were able to make synthetic compounds of it. And then we could put it into the body and see where it goes. And in 1988, with the advanced imaging, we could trace it out. And when we put THC into the body, we light up like a Christmas tree. And why is that? Why do we have receptor targets all over the body? Well, because we are making something endogenously to activate those targets. And that was found in 1992 by this man, Professor Lemire Hannes, working with Mechoulam. He's the discoverer of anandamide. Ananda is Sanskrit for bliss. And it's because it activates those CB1 receptors in the brain, causing those changes to euphoria and well-being and ease and many other things. But these CB1, CB2 receptors are activated by anandamide and 2-AG. And so what we have found is that these endocannabinoids and these receptors are causing homeostasis or balance at the cellular level. And that's what we do. We have more receptors in our body for the endocannabinoid system than any other receptor. And what is so cool about this is that if we look at the molecular structure of THC and the molecular structure of anandamide, they mimic each other. And that is why when you put THC into the body, it can go into those same receptors like a key fits into a lock, and boom, boom, it's able to unlock that door. It's a master key all over the body. So we going back to your umbrella, we could be unlocking CB1, CB2 receptors in the nerve cells, in the brain, in my shoulder where I've had 3 surgeries and I have inflammation, in the gut, in somebody's knee, wherever it is, in the cancer cells, wherever in the body we need activation. THC can actually mimic anandamide and fulfill the functioning of restoring balance. And why is that important?
Well, here's the thing too, because it's a pleiotropic.
Yeah.
It works on, so if you go back to the umbrella image, on, off all day long, we're producing these cannabinoids. And you hear microdosing, right? So it makes sense. Our goal is to have a balance. We want to have the right amount of anandamide and 2-AG, the right amount of enzymes to break it down. We want to have the right amount of receptors, because in certain disease states, we have an overabundance or an underabundance of receptors. So it's very, very interesting as to how this all ties together. Important when it comes to THC and anandamide is I want people to understand that THC molecule is 10 times stronger than the anandamide molecule. Or another way of saying that is the anandamide molecule is 1/10 the strength of the THC molecule. That is why we don't need a lot of it. So let's get into what happens. What happens when you don't make enough of your own internal endogenous cannabinoids? What happens?
You get deficiency.
You get deficiency.
So so the ECS deficiency is, what we call the clinical endocannabinoid deficiency. We've got classic conditions: chronic pain, fibromyalgia, IBS, migraines, autoimmune conditions, and Alzheimer's. It shows that when the body's not regulating and coming back to homeostasis, it's the wrong way trajectory of illness. And there's no real fixing a lot of these conditions. It's those micro adjustments that need to be made in response to stress that are not being made. So the endocannabinoid system should be going off and on all the time. These compounds are not floating around. You can't get a blood level like all of the other neurotransmitters like serotonin that have certain levels. These are made when they're needed by the body, which is constantly. But if we're not making enough, then we're not correcting the imbalance. And then what happens, right? We have these ECS deficiencies, and it's because of all of these causes. So what are the causes, right?
Well, here we go. One of my favorite, science shows early exposure to sugars and processed foods create nutrient deficiencies, change in the microbiome, and begin the path of insulin resistance and diabetes.
Right. And as I talked about with my mother, metabolic imbalances cause these cardiovascular and metabolic changes. And this is always a good thing, because if we have these things and you detect them, and of course, we know cardiovascular disease and diabetes, you can measure your blood sugar. If we can correct these imbalances, then we can restore health. And in fact, Del Bredesen is one of the pioneers working with brain changes and aging. And he created this Bredesen protocol. And it is amazing, because the subjects that were in the test, and of course, he's working in this as a business, 80% are having an improvement in memory function. And it focuses on nutrition, exercise, sleep, stress, brain stimulation, and supplements, all calculated from a personalized assessment of the individualized biomarkers and their detailed assessments. So, and his hypothesis is simple, and I just love it. When the brain is supported, it thrives. When it's not supported, it shuts down. Just like everything in our body, but we really have to protect the brain.
We do have to protect the brain. And so this is just really important too. So if the endocannabinoid system is the most important system in the body, then it makes sense that we take care of that system and do all that we can to support it to do its job, to keep us in balance. So this isn't just for Alzheimer's, this is for all conditions. A healthy lifestyle is the #1 way to support the endocannabinoid system. And that includes all of the health and wellness activities you hear us nurses preaching about, right? Cannabis is one tool in the toolbox. In working with thousands and thousands of patients, when we introduce healthy lifestyle modalities and other, I call them tips, tricks, hugs, and nugs, The cannabis works better, completely 100% works better. And guess what? Cannabis is expensive and it saves you money. So just incorporating some of these things. Food is medicine, nutrient-dense whole foods, adaptogens, supplements. We're seeing nootropics that are taking off. Regular exercise, motion is the lotion. When you exercise, you're releasing that bliss molecule. That's the endorphins.
Yeah.
Stress management, meditation, breath work, mind-body medicine, yoga, massage, acupuncture, chiropractic care, energy work, aromatherapy, social connections. We've been in isolation, limiting alcohol, quitting smoking, getting restorative sleep, laughter. And cannabis, as you can see, cannabis is one tool in the toolbox. We have many, many tools.
All of those tools, right?
Yeah.
Neurovascular, cardiovascular. The most important thing is taking care of ourselves. And when I use cannabinoids with patients, I'm like, how do I use this to get you to move? Because if you do, you're going to do better. So, going back to cannabis. Cannabis is an antioxidant neuroprotectant. We already talked about that. But do you know that the government knows that? And they took out this patent in 2003 on cannabinoids. They knew that these were very priceless compounds that we needed to study and figure out how to really profit from and utilize for patients, because they can limit injury and damage from decay, from stroke, from concussions and CTE, but also maybe be able to slow down the progression of neurodegenerative diseases such as Parkinson's, MS, and Alzheimer's and other dementias. So we should absolutely be
thinking about CBD
and studying this in conventional care, which they're getting to.
We're getting to,
It's
and
not quite enough. Yeah, let's
and this
look
is
at
where
some
we
research.
go. So we use a lot when we're creating presentations and we're educating and working with this plant. We like to look at research. There's real world evidence, there's anecdotal stories. Those are extremely important, and that is what should be fueling the research. But these are studies that we found. We're using Cannakeys for this, and it's really amazing. Some of the synopsis of cannabis research for Alzheimer's disease. For virtually all trials indicated a therapeutic potential, with a couple of meta-analysis of clinical trials suggesting mixed results stemming from the lack of comparative trials showing the different dose-dependent effects on the 3 cannabinoid chemotypes. So we have chemotype 1, 2, and 3. 1 has more THC than CBD. Chemotype 2, balanced THC and CBD. Chemotype 3 is that full spectrum CBD product that you hear about that has the trace amounts of THC. So data suggests that cannabinoid-based therapeutics may produce Alzheimer's disease relevant therapeutic effects, such as by modulating abnormal processing of the beta amyloid plaques and the tau tangles, by reducing neuroinflammation, exocytotoxicity of the brain, oxidative stress, and mitochondrial dysfunction. This is all happening in the cell, mitochondrial dysfunction. So it also provides protection from neuroinflammation-induced cognitive damage. And this does by what? By restoring memory and cognitive function in animals. So it supports, the research also says it supports the brain's intrinsic repair mechanism by augmenting neurotrophin. And these are molecules that assist in the formation of nerve cells and the expression by enhancing neurogenesis, or the creating new nerve brain cells. Yeah. So no trials, this is really important, no trials reported that cannabis-based therapies worsen Alzheimer's disease pathologies. And we have real compelling evidence to indicate that cannabis helps with neuroinflammation, improves quality of life for patients suffering with Alzheimer's disease. And so a little bit more on chemotype 1, 2, and 3, because this is important. So when people are shopping for products.
Right. So chemotype 1 is our high THC products, right? And so we're going to use those very cautiously in patients with Alzheimer's. They have a dose-dependent effect, right? So very, very small microdoses of it can be enough to stimulate the effect that we need from THC, but not enough to cause side effects. So personalized dosing is key to find the optimal balance between relaxation and sedation and worsening of symptoms. Chemotype 2, where we have the equal parts CBD, THC, It is perfect for some patients over time, and really for evening dosing, because we want to address sundowning, right? So a little bit of THC with CBD given in the evening is going to help reduce some of that anxiety and agitation. And then chemotype 3, the more high CBD, this is where we're going to want to improve mood, relaxation, decrease inflammation, decrease some of the agitation and anxiety that people might have, and just promote function and well-being, going back to that antioxidant neuroprotective effects that you don't see, but it's working behind the scenes. So this is what we want to do. And of course, we're mixing things up, right? You're working with cause and effect. What is the correlation of giving these medicines and compounds and what we see in the effect of the patient? So you have to just do a constant dance. So of course, this is medicine. We work on this. And, so Ethan Russo, I love this slide, one of my favorite physicians. He's a neurologist working in cannabis, is one of the premier scientists in this field for the last 30 years. And he has been published in Frontiers of Neurology and just has so much research. But what his hypothesis is that the ECS is constantly modulating the pathological processes of Alzheimer's and other brain processing during the silent phases as it's developing. You talk about those 20, 30 years that it's elapsed. We should be detecting these things. And of course, the brain should be repairing neuroinflammation, excitotoxicity, the mitochondrial dysfunction, and oxidative stress. The CB2 receptors in the brain, so these are the ones attached to the immune cells, are activated. They are increased in Alzheimer's, early Alzheimer's, showing that the beta amyloid plaque removal by the macrophages. So these immune cells are being stimulated. The endocannabinoid receptors are coming there, and then we need to have 2-AG and anandamide activating those, right? And quieting those down to remove those macrophages, to remove those beta amyloid plaques. And so what we're finding here is that as Alzheimer's continues to go on, we're not making those. And so anyway, it's complicated. But then there are these acetylcholinesterase inhibitors, the drugs that are on the market, right? So memantine and donepezil are two that my mother was on.
Right.
There's 4 of them. They're NMDA receptor antagonists. And they're on the market. They work for about 6 months, and then they're pretty much futile. You have to keep switching them up. But they are ineffective on disease progression and may be toxic. They obviously cause side effects. But yet treatment with cannabinoids may be doing the similar things, and they're benign. And the THC in cannabis can actually inhibit acetylcholinesterase, which acetylcholine helps us make memories, right? And if we're able to, acetylcholinesterase is the enzyme that breaks down acetylcholine. So if we can inhibit that, we can leave more acetylcholine, so that can work to preserve memory. So we're doing the same thing with the cannabinoids that the pharmaceuticals are, without the side effects.
And the difference between pharmaceuticals and cannabinoids, if you're using whole plant medicine, is you have more than one compound. Pharmaceuticals are single isolated molecules. You have this plant with over 1,800 components to it.
It's like the symphony.
It's like the symphony. And so not only is it working in the brain, but it's working in what? The entire umbrella, the entire body. It acts as a pleiotropic, which means affecting multiple different physiological systems at the exact same time. And so here we have Stacy Gruber. She's a PhD in Harvard at McLean Hospital in Massachusetts. And her studies, I like her mind, marijuana investigations for neuroscientific discovery. And a current study show in older adults, mental focus sharpened after 3 months of medical cannabis, leading to activation of cingulate cortex, an area involved with paying attention, distractions, and problem solving. Neuroimaging also revealed normalization of brain function as cognitive skills start to improve. And it's because why? People are feeling less pain, they're sleeping better, they're using fewer medications like opiates and benzodiazepines, and these things can affect memory and thinking. Or is it a direct effect from cannabis? No. So
is the cannabis working, or are people taking less medications that cause these issues? Because you take benzodiazepines, people don't know this, but the benzodiazepines reduce memory. They cause memory impairment. They cause falls, and people can't even get Xanax anymore.
Well, so the other thing with pharmaceuticals that a lot of people don't know, I call them drug muggers. Okay, they are very sneaky little doodads that go in and prevent our body from absorbing nutrients. And a lot of the medications that are prescribed on the market today for brain health and functionality deplete our body of B vitamins, and B vitamins are crucial and essential for energy, metabolism, and brain function. B vitamins bathe the central nervous system. So really
and it's amazing in clinical practice. We see this all the time. And I could talk about this slide, right? So, the physical and the mental benefits of cannabis. When we start to use whole plants with patients in the field, we see what Stacy Gruber was picking up in the lab. We see that they start to decrease the other pharmaceuticals and they get better, right? So what's happening in the physical body? We're stimulating that balancing homeostasis in the nervous system, the immune system, the stress and the endocrine systems, helping decrease pain, neuropathies, muscle tension, etc. And then we can get them moving a little bit if people are still ambulatory, which helps exercise, right? We want people to be moving. Cardiovascular, neurovascular stimulation is going to help in AD, Alzheimer's. And on the mental benefit side, emotionally, we can improve sleep. We can improve the relaxation and calm, a feeling of well-being, decreasing some of the fatigue during their day. Small doses of CBD can be stimulating. Large doses can be sedating. So we can play with that and see what we're finding. But overall, we can improve energy, the feeling of resilience in not only the patient, but also the family. We're getting better. We're going in the right direction. That's the key. We want people to be able to go in the right direction with their health. And this is what we see time and time again once we start using cannabinoids. People are sleeping better, they're less agitated, they're less sundowning, they start eating better, people gain weight. I had somebody that was incontinent start to say, "Can I go to the bathroom?"
There you go.
Yeah.
Can you imagine?
Mm-hmm.
Right? That is improving quality of life right there in and of itself. Something that we take for granted.
Mm-hmm.
So let's get a little bit more into THC, CBD. We're going to get a little bit into products as we start to evolve on these slides. So THC and CBD, the power couple. And there's a lot of people that are out there that says, "Oh, I don't want to take CBD. CBD is going to ruin my high," or CBD. I'm going to tell you, CBD is a game changer for so many people. And the reason why is because CBD can modulate and soften THC without taking away the medicinal effect. I'm just going to give a personal example. People's CBD dosing, they can help them to control how THC makes them feel in the brain, right? And for everyone, it's a little bit different. CBD is non-impairing. It soothes anxiety. It reduces inflammation. And, the ratios that we're going to talk about in just a minute, we want to maximize gains and minimize side effects. So when you heard Elizabeth say a 4-to-1, a 2-to-1, a 1-to-1, that is the ratio of CBD to THC. The more CBD that you can have, the less impaired someone may be. And everyone's impairment threshold is different. So THC, so this is why you need both. THC enhances the efficacy of CBD. And there's nothing wrong with this, but THC may cause euphoria, may cause impairment only at high doses. Remember what we said, we make anandamide, the plant makes THC, the molecular structure is the same. The THC molecule is 10 times stronger than the anandamide molecule, so you don't need a lot.
But you do need some.
You do need some.
You do need some.
Really
That's
do.
the key takeaway here on this slide, right? People are like, "I'm never going to use THC with my mother or my father or my aunt," because they're fearful of it. But these trace amounts of THC is really what's going to activate those receptors directly to help reduce some of these acetylcholinesterase, help maintain that brain integrity, help with that CB2 activation and CB1, calming down that fight or flight in the amygdala in some of these. You have to have THC for that. So, but using that CBD minimizes the impairment or that sense that something's not right? Because when we worry about THC, what are they fearful of? Psychotic thinking, hallucinations. Well, these people are having them anyway. They're having them anyway. And what happens is we use these phytocannabinoids and we start to minimize those hallucinations. They start to go away. So but you don't know until you try. And obviously you want to monitor everything you're doing. What is the cause and effect? And you're just walking with this family and this patient through every day.
Yep. So here we go. Cannabis dosing and methods of administration. There is so many different ways of using cannabis as medicine, right? So
Mhm.
we want to take the minimum effective dose. We call it the Goldilocks dosing, the sweet spot. Take the lowest dose to get the most therapeutic response below the threshold of what? Feeling impaired or having those
Mhm.
negative side effects.
Yeah.
Side effects are 100% dose dependent, truly. And we want to take enough to trigger a response to reduce symptoms, but not enough to create those side effects. Start low, go slow. And we're going to talk about the different methods of administration to keep tolerance low and cost effective. So Elizabeth, what are these other methods right here?
So we've got 5 different routes. We've got inhalation, tinctures, topicals, and patches. And so they all work in a little bit different way. Inhalation is going to give us that immediate onset and very short duration. Right? And when we can use vaporization, so you can vaporize herb CBD, you can have a big pen of CBD, maybe a 1-to-1 in early phases, maybe. And dementias, we might be using this, especially if somebody is a former smoker. You might want to take that and then just allow that patient to determine what they need for themselves, especially in early stages.
Especially with CBD.
The animals. So a lot of people have discovered this. They're given it helps sleep, and it helps me eat, and it helps me, to have a better evening with them because we can laugh at the TV again. He eats himself again. So that 2 milligrams, a micro dose. A lot of these gummies that sometimes you find at dispensaries will be a 1-to-1.
Yeah.
So there'll be some CBD, some THC, maybe 5 milligrams, and it's 3 of CBD and 2 of THC. There's all different types that patients and families can trust. So some of these are good, capsules, etc. Tinctures are the mainstay. So tinctures allow us to be able to drip in medicine, bring the little oracles in the membranes where it's absorbed right into the bloodstream, bypassing some of the liver metabolisms, and gives us the ability to have that dosing. So at onset in 15 minutes, 30 minutes, with a duration of about 4 to 6 hours. So now we can see, okay, if the endocannabinoid system is going off and on all the time, if we put these tinctures in every 4 to 6 hours, now we can mimic what our response is supposed to do with respect to finding homeostasis and performing these brain functions of homeostasis and balancing in the brain itself and things. So we want to use these tinctures, and we'll talk about in the tinctures in a minute. Topicals. A lot of times, especially as Alzheimer's is advancing, people aren't able to even talk about their pain, but they're having it, right? And if you're putting topicals on, you can ease some of that circulatory tension, pain, inflammation, soreness. Sometimes skin tears. You see elderly patients, they get a lot of skin issues and bruising. You can put CBD creams on the skin and soften that up and help healing. And then patches are also really good for people with dementia, especially a CBD patch, when you really want to just start treatment. We can use that continuous basal dosing, put a patch on 24 hours. We've got a continuous medicine being infused through this and into the bloodstream and giving us some effects. So onset in about 20-30 minutes, duration of 24-48 hours. And this is a good thing to use in stacking. Obviously, we want to talk about how we put the patch on and then maybe use a CBD pen and a little bit of tincture for bedtime. And again, cause and effect. What is not? Let's do more of what's working. Let's do less of what's not, and just keep going and see what we're doing for this family.
So basically cannabis dosing strategies and methods of administration for those that have Alzheimer's disease. We'll just talk a little bit about it. We don't see much inhalation except for those patients that have had other illnesses with Alzheimer's disease, just like Elizabeth's mom. So she had vascular dementia, she had diabetes, she also had cancer. So she inhaled an indica vape for her nausea, correct? Right. And then the topicals, tinctures, gummies, capsules, and drinks we're seeing a lot of, but primarily we're seeing mostly CBD that chemotype 3, full spectrum CBD, boosting with minor cannabinoids. And we've also seen beta-caryophyllene drops as well, being very instrumental in activating CB2 receptors, which decrease the inflammation, including neuroinflammation. So I'm going to give just a quick case study. I wish I had a photo here, but I don't, because she was just a patient we just had. And this is a 90-year-old who had Alzheimer's dementia, pretty severe. They were considering putting her in. She had Lewy body, Parkinson's plus Alzheimer's. And they were coming very, very close to having to institutionalize her. So they were playing around with a lot of different products. They were giving her a little bit too much THC. They had a hard time managing it. They were getting too large of doses. So once we educated on the microdosing, she started to do really well. She needed to take things that she would like to taste. So we did full spectrum CBD, 20 milligrams per dose, sure. And then she also took a gummy with it. She took a microdose of a THC, 2.5 milligrams of THC, 2.5 milligrams of CBG. So she took this for breakfast and lunch. So she had that full rounded out, small amount of THC, more CBD, and a little bit of CBG to activate those CB2 receptors to decrease inflammation. And then what happened at dinner time is that, or at lunch and, dinner time and bedtime, is we would continue to give her the CBD, the 20 milligram tincture. She started taking a gummy that had a little bit of THC and CBN in it. But the THC and CBN was really, really effective for her for that sundowning, as well as allowing her to eat, allowing her to relax and decrease her agitation. And she also got one gummies, 5 milligrams, 5 milligrams of gummies at dinner and bedtime. So, and then a topical in the morning. So she truly embraced the stacking methodology, which was topicals, tinctures, and gummies. And so what happened?
And you see the entourage effect here too. Yeah, with the CBD, the THC, and the CBG for daytime, stimulant, and CBN for evening, more sedating, more calming. So
So what we saw with her, we saw her appetite picked up. She was sleeping better, less daytime sleep, less periods of agitation, happier, less sundowning. She was sundowning every day. Now she's sundowning maybe once a week, very similar. And all easily managed with the additional doses of cannabinoids so she had a better quality of life so she could stay home. That to me is really important. Is it relieving suffering and improving quality of life?
that's what we do.
So here we do. Here is what we do.
That's what we do. And it is great. So, some of these modern formulas are just amazing. And we have such flexibility. We're very blessed in America to be able to have hemp CBD focused products to be able to be available online. In Australia, where we have other operations, these are still Schedule 4, so a doctor has to write a prescription for CBD. Or we are able to buy these online, and this is a line that we're releasing next week. So happy December! We're going to have some fun with these just in time for the holidays. This is the Lumiere CBD lineup, but it's symptom targeted benefits. So we can use again CBD. And there's some terpenes and botanicals for the day, pick up energy, and allow that antioxidant neuroinflammation, neuroprotection, and just calming down anxiety, right? And then CBD, CBN in the evenings to promote sleep and direct rest. We can use beta caryophyllene to decrease pain and inflammation, and CBG is also gut health. And gut health is good for brain health, and it's all interconnected. And so we want to talk about, how to use cannabinoids, terpenes, and other botanicals to be able to give people what they need. And all of these are full spectrum products without the THC. With small traces of THC, but without enough THC so that they're in the dispensary. So again, you can buy hemp CBD products online, and it's a great first try to be able to see whether or not this is going to be effective, and to start getting these doses, 10, 20, 30, 40 milligrams a day per drop around formulations to be able to keep going and see what you need, and then again going to the dispensary and getting the THC as needed. So there is a lot of flexibility.
Getting back to Alzheimer's, really, really important that caregivers take care of themselves. Really important. Caring for the caregiver. You deserve to feel good, and we're now offering 20 minutes CBD wellness for you at lumiereclinic.com. We have free resources for family in our network. You can join today. There's links in the comments for introductory to cannabis course, patient portal, and support, webcast, podcasts, and programs. It's really important for the caregivers to take care of themselves. It's important for you to be able to build resiliency so you can do all of these things to care for your loved one. And then shopping for safe CBD, really, really important. There are tons of products on the market. People are making great medicines. People are selling these amazing medicine formulations, yet no one is truly educating patients how to use cannabis as medicine. And that's what we've been doing. We've been doing this for the past 8 years. Elizabeth, for shopping.
Yeah. Well, what is Green Nurse approved? Well, safe CBD. There are a lot of CBD brands out on the market, and we have so much. In the early days, it was only grown in Europe, Eastern Europe, and they actually planted CBD hemp fields in Chernobyl to clear radioactive right? Because it was about you to pull up and clean the soil. You need to throw that out. You don't want to make messes of it. So it's very important that we test these products, that they are all vetted for potencies, contaminants, pesticides, microbials, all kinds of contaminants. But that's also the potency. These bubbles can be 300 milligrams and they can be 3,000 milligrams. So when you tell somebody to take a drop of CBD, what is that? Is it 10 milligrams or 100 milligrams? That's a big difference. So we educate people to know what's in that bottle. Don't go cheap. These are really expensive to make. We want to really work with people that are growing organically, using GMP, good manufacturing practices to get their products to the market, because that is pharmaceutical grade, practitioner grade, which is what we're trying to do. And working with companies that aren't taking advantage of people, that are transparently doing business. They answer their emails and they're responsive to people. So and then as far as that spot checking. Yeah, it's not these products, but they do stop checking to see what's out there on the market, and they're finding that about 30% of the products that they're testing are not what's on the label. So sometimes they have more THC, sometimes they don't have as much CBD as claiming, and sometimes they're more. And so it's really incredible the variance that's out there. And so what we do is we help people to look at those certificates of analysis, to know what's in the bottle, to understand what how it's working as a practice. This is a new industry, and we have to make sure that we're steering it that way.
So as we wrap up our clinical conversation, just want to, Holistic Caring CEO and founder, we got her right here. She is putting 25% off all programs. So thank you for all programs. You go to holisticcaring.com, you hit programs, and they're all there. They are amazing.
And we have programs. One of the first programs that I wrote was Parkinson's and Alzheimer's and Alzheimer's and Dementia. We put together all the research on how these phytonutrients might be able to modulate the endocannabinoid system back to health. And so Alzheimer's and Dementia, as cancer, mental health, autoimmune, etc.
And we also, Elizabeth and I created a free 7-page medical cannabis guide. If you go to the website, all you can do is sign up for the newsletter and it's a download. And also the free network. If you go to the website again, it's going to say join the network. If you really want to do that, the green nurses are all there. It's run by medical professionals. We have a pharmacist, Charmaine, on board, and this is where the free cannabis courses, our webcast, podcast, and connection with other patients and providers across the globe. The most exciting thing we want to talk about before we sign off is we've been working 8 years to finally be able to launch a global clinic to help people across the world.
So what is Blueberry Clinic? So Canada is the company that I'm director of clinical affairs in Australia. And what we're doing is this progressive global education to bring this education to practitioners, because this is a brand new thing. The doctors and nurses all over the world, and then so what we're doing is setting up a clinic. We have a clinic in Australia. We're opening clinics in the UK, in Germany, in Jamaica, down in Brazil, Mexico, in Canada, and then here in America. And so each BlueBearClinic.com is open based on the geography where the patient is. Google knows if you're in the UK or right here in California. So we are going to be running our site. We're going to be giving free discovery calls. What happens and how do I take advantage of this? And what do I need to know? And we can talk to you about the programs and the coaching services and these beautiful nerve formulations and how to get started easily, and you're right there in your own home. And you don't have to go and see a doctor. You don't have to get a prescription in America like you do in Australia. So we're very excited to launch your clinic, and you just go to the website. You can put so much information on that website, and next week products will be live.
Elizabeth and I built the website over the past year. So it's taken a year. We're really excited. We're excited to share it all with you. Holisticcaring.com is where we have our programs, we have our mentoring, and we have our media. And the Lumiere Clinic is seeing patients and educating people across the globe. So so this has been really good, you all.
This has been a great show.
This has been a great show. Really good show. Happy Thanksgiving, everyone. Remember what it's all about. It is truly about living your best life and helping others do the same. We are here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. And so that's why I love the word high. H is for hope, I is for inspiration, G is for growth, and H is for healing. And I'm going to wind down with one last video, which is probably one of my favorites as I've started on this cannabis space, working with people all over the globe.
Happy Thanksgiving week.
Happy Thanksgiving. Something wrong with the internet. It's really slow. We're here to educate and empower patients to make choices that are best for them. We're also here to decrease stigma around what it means to feel good and be high. Hence the H for hope, I for inspiration, G for growth, and H for healing. The Green Nurse is a holistic cannabis nurse that teaches on the endocannabinoid system and the safe utilization of cannabis and other progressive tools to help people reach a better quality of life.
I was cannabis agnostic for many years. And the more research I did, the more I discovered that cannabis is this amazing medicine.
I was told that I had a 4-stage pancreatic cancer. The doctor really told me he couldn't do anything else. He gave me her name and she called me and she came to my house. She started to give me cannabis. My oncologist was puzzled because he couldn't find the cancer anymore.
All of the learning that we get comes from the Green Nurses group, comes from their support, comes from their guidance. I trust everything that she says.
Simply meet people where they're at. The plant doesn't, stress to grow, so we don't stress to share it. We're healing people.
Cannabis has been used as a medicine for tens upon thousands of years. Here's the big message. Cannabis needs to be federally legal. We need to have laws that are the same across all 50 states that allow access to anyone and everyone who wants to utilize this powerful medicine.